Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Evolving Consciousness. I'm your host Purushottam, and in today's video, we are going to talk about a real life story which has the potential to nudge your soul, which has the potential to completely blow your mind. This story of the world champion of Grand Prix will captivate your attention and also be a part of your memory for years to come. Now, this story is about the legendary Niki Lauda. Now, for folks who follow Grand Prix or people who have been devout followers of Grand Prix in general, they probably know this gentleman. But for folks who don't, Niki Lauda is considered to be one of the most revered world champions. Not because that he was someone who was a streak apart, but because he was a world champion and something happens in his life which completely turns his life 360 degree. Now let's go into the details. But before we start talking about what happened with Niki Lauda, I just want you to pay absolute attention to the contents of this video, because the contents of my today's video have the potential to completely shift you from within. Towards the next few minutes of this video, I would request that you lend me your ears, give me your absolute attention, because what you are about to witness is going to be an exemplary example of what it means to embody qualities and virtues of resilience and grit. So let's get started. Now, Niki Lauda is a Formula One racing world champion, and like his usual routine, he used to take part in world championships. And in one particular world championship, which was to happen on August 1st, 1976, Niki participated in that, and it was a German Grand Prix. As Lauda made a turn at fantastically high speed, a high octane speed, he lost control and hit a wall. His Ferrari exploded into flames. He was trapped in the car for 43 seconds at a temperature of 423 degrees Celsius. Can you even imagine the extent of brutality of that accident? That accident was nothing short of gruesome. His body was horrifically burned. One onlooker reported that it appeared as if his face was melting off his head. His face was absolutely melting off his head. Can you even imagine? It seems so scary to even visualize such a scene. Another 10 seconds and he would have died, told Lauda post his recovery. At the hospitals, things looked so bad that a priest was called in to deliver last rites. His condition was absolutely catastrophic. Everyone believed that he's finished, he's dead. The conviction that he's going to die was so evident that they actually called a priest to do his final rites. When Lauda's wife arrived and saw her husband's condition, she fainted. The racing legend later explained to a reporter, he said, and I'm going to quote the exact words which Lauda told the reporter. When I came into the hospital, you feel like you're very tired and you would like to go to sleep. But you know it's not just sleeping, it's something else. And you just fight with your brain. You hear noises and you hear voices, and you just try to listen to what they are saying, and you try to keep your brain working to get the body ready to fight against illness. I did that, and that way I survived. In an astonishing display of fighting spirit, only 40 days later, with bandages still covering his damaged scalp, he forces his racing helmet to participate in another competition. Now, to folks who are witnessing this, to folks even hearing this, right, this seems like an act of insanity. This seems like a foolish endeavor, because this person was burned to death, literally burned to death, and just 40 days later, he's sort of forcing his helmet down his damaged head and scalp. Now, it might completely seem insane and lunatic for us. So what happened was, when he goes to the Grand Prix, all the onlookers are absolutely captivated, baffled, and they are just looking at him with a sense of awe. What the hell is this person? Many people didn't even recognize him, but there were people who did. And they were absolutely awestruck by this person who had demonstrated the possibility attitude, the attitude of a true possibilitarian. Now, while I can walk and drive, he told to himself, I am quoting what Lada told himself. He said, while I can walk and drive, why lie in a clinic? Now look at the attitude of this personality, look at the mental model through which he is living his life. He could have laid in the hospital and he could have just probably relaxed, right? He had a lot of reasons to not attend that. He had a lot of reasons to not give up his comfort of rest. Many might argue that that wasn't a very right, intelligent move to take. Many might argue that probably that wasn't the best thing he could have done for his own health and well-being. But leaders and people who are world-class titans of their field, they always listen to their soul. They are absolutely authentic. They follow their heart versus their intellectual brain. If Lada had sort of followed his intellectual mind, which sort of suggested that he shouldn't participate because his body was not fit to participate, and he had just escaped death, and he was going to face the same death again, right? That creating situation. Now, this is a super inspirational story for anyone to, this is an extreme example of a story wherein a person, he chose heroism over victimhood. He chose true, powerful attitude. He showed through his conduct, not through mere lip service. He showed through his conduct what true being a true hero is. And that particular competition, he was placed fourth. Now it doesn't matter whether he was winning or he even came last. What mattered was he competed even in such horrible condition. Now, I have sort of distilled what are the 3 lessons out of this phenomenal story which you and me can learn from, the 3 takeaways. Now, the number 1 takeaway which I thought is very important for us to capture is to own our toughness. Really, resilience and grit are not manufactured characteristics. These characteristics needs to be forged in the fire of gruesome circumstances. They are not something which someone is born with. Even people who consider themselves inherently strong, if they ask themselves or if they sort of contemplate on the journey of their own life, they will realize and acknowledge that what made them stronger were the times which tested them, were the times which pushed them to the wall. Those were the times which made them genuinely strong. Those were the times which made them realize what it means to be a truly resilient human being. Now, Niki Lada is probably the best example who sort of talks about this, who sort of embodies this principle. And one thing which we also need to understand is we need to stop condemning difficulties. We need to stop condemning challenging situations. Instead, I offer you a perspective that we need to be grateful towards difficulties. Because let's understand, nobody becomes legendary and when things are easy. Nobody becomes legendary when things are very comfortable. Legends are born out of calamities. Legends are born out of catastrophes. If you look at people who have been remarkable and who are sort of immortals, right? If you study their life, you will realize these people were extremely ordinary. But what made them extraordinary was a life-changing moment, a life-altering situation in life, which sort of shattered their ego. There's a beautiful quote which says, "A bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul." A bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul. Hence, let us sort of recalibrate the story which we have associated with difficulties or with situations. When we face challenging situations in life, we need to be extremely grateful for it, because this situation has come to make us stronger, to help us embody this quality of resilience and grit. And also, even if you look at the scripture of Ramayana, where the Vanar Sena was having this challenge of sort of jumping towards Sri Lanka, crossing the ocean wherein they can sort of reach Sri Lanka, at that point of time, that served as an opportunity for Lord Hanuman to realize his latent potential. Had they not faced the challenge of crossing the river to reach Lanka, probably Lord Hanuman would never realize his latent power, his infinite latent potential. Now, this is so true for all of us as well. When life gives you a lemon, use that lemon and enjoy the lemon. Now, let's go to takeaway number 2, and this is very powerful. Get back into the car fast. Now, what does this mean? Get back into the car fast. The more we delay facing our fears, the more the fears get stronger. If you look at the understanding, if you look at the physics, if you look at the basic constituent of fear, you will realize that every time you avoid doing something, it only adds fuel to that fear. Let me give you a very simple example. If you are someone who is scared of public speaking, if you are someone who is scared to go out there and speak up, the more you are going to delay that, the fear within you is going to increase. And the day you face it, the day you make a vow to yourself that I'm going to face my fears, that day you'll realize and you'll sort of laugh at yourself as to how stupid I was, because you'll realize that this wasn't that difficult, and every time you face your fear, you're growing into something more powerful, because essentially you are expanding your own zones of complacency, you're expanding your comfort zones. So it is very important that we stop delaying facing our fears, and let's take inspiration from Nicky Lada's example. Nicky Lada, he had all reasons to not participate in that particular tournament. He was literally burned to death. Only 40 days later, there's a tournament and he rushes to participate in that tournament. He had the most gruesome fear to face, the fear of death. He had the taste of death 40 days prior to that tournament, but he still chooses to face that fear. In comparison to the fear of Nicky Lada's, our fears are very amusing. We can't even compare our fears to the fear which Nicky Lada faced, because let's understand, the fear of death is the ultimate fear any human being has. And the person who can face death, who doesn't have the fear of death, that person is probably not scared of anything. So it's very important to get into your car fast. And it's also very important that let's realize this beautiful aspect, that where your failure occurs, that is also the place where your courage unfolds. Often at times when we fail at certain avenues of our life, that particular spot or that particular avenue will provide us enough input to unfold the latent courage within us. The famous incident which happened with Mahatma Gandhi, where he was sort of pushed off from the train he was traveling in, that particular incident sort of served as an instrumental aspect in the entire history of modern India. That sort of propelled Mahatma Gandhi to live with a purpose. If that incident didn't happen, if that incident of insult didn't happen in the life of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, he would never have become the father of nation. Now let's go to the third and probably the most powerful takeaway. Now, before talking about this takeaway, I just want to tell what happened to Nicky Lada post retirement. Now, probably most of you would be thinking, probably he sort of glorifies his great achievements and probably he's just relaxing, right, and resting on his laurels. But no, he didn't do that. Instead, he became an extremely successful aviation entrepreneur and he launched two successful aviation airlines, right? He launched two airlines. Also, he wrote a book. Now, this is groundbreaking and probably the hallmark quality of people who are spectacular. Coasting seems alien to their nature. They don't like to be complacent. They don't like to rest on the laurels of achievements which they had a decade back. A real life example in today's modern day is of that of Shah Rukh Khan. Now, Shah Rukh Khan has everything at his disposal which you and me can probably even dream of. But yet he continues to work for 17 to 18 hours a day. I mean, he can just sit back and be complacent and he can just glorify himself and look at all the great achievements he has done in his life. From all standards, what he has achieved is nothing short of phenomenal. But still he is working hard. Now, this is such a powerful thing to learn from legendary people. They have practiced being spectacular so often that unspectacularity has no place within their operating system, within their OS, right? Within their operating system of their consciousness, there is no room for mediocrity. There is no room for coasting. There is no room for complacency. And it's all about being authentic to yourself, right? Because if you're not working towards yourself, no matter how much you have achieved in your life, till the last breath, if you're not giving life your very best, because we all have this beautiful opportunity to unravel the genius within us, we probably are not being the most authentic selves. If you're going to be complacent and coast of life, then that's a glorious opportunity wasted. And we probably would have a lot of regrets when we go to the graveyard. Now, also one thing we need to understand and acknowledge is we shouldn't slow down. No matter how much we have achieved, we should always seek more opportunities for improvement, more opportunities to accelerate, no matter how much we have achieved. It's very tempting to sort of look at your old achievements. Sure, we can be proud of them. But stop taking value, stop building your identity on things which need to be placed in your it's a part of your museum, but don't make the museum your future, right? Essentially what I'm trying to say is stop resting on the laurels of what you have already achieved. It's great that you have achieved them, but that doesn't mean that we should stop achieving newer things. We should stop exploring newer possibilities. And also one beautiful quote by Abraham Maslow. He says, one's rival is one's own possibilities. One's only failure is failing to live up to one's possibilities. In this sense, every person can be as royalty and therefore must be treated like royalty. And so, should you wish to surrender when the conditions get tough, remember the man who lost his face. Then carry on with high speed. Now, it's very powerful because let's understand stories, they have this unique aspect about them. They have this powerful way of influencing because we are all living in this reality which is defined by stories, whether you realize it or not. Governments are formed and broken, governments rise and fall based on what is called as perception building. They are essentially trying to sell us stories. And we are also telling a story to ourselves 24/7, whether we realize it or not. And that is serving to define our reality. That is sort of orchestrating the reality of it. But unfortunately, most of us are not conscious of the kind of stories we are telling ourselves. I hope my today's video brought about a powerful inspiration within you to understand what being resilient and being grit is, and the three takeaways which I sort of thought are my key understandings from the life of Nicky Lal. Thank you so much for your time on my video. And if you really enjoyed the video, don't forget to share it with a couple of your friends who probably are going through a tough patch in life and who would probably benefit from this dose of inspiration and from this dose of a real life example of what it means to be resilient and have a never say die attitude. Thank you so much for your time on my video, and I'll meet you in the next video. Bye.